What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JB Sports back again with another one. Gonna talk about the NBA free agency. It kicks off June 30th at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central this Sunday. And that's when it kicks off. You know, players are not actually able to sign their contract until July the 6th, but they can agree to terms as soon as June the 30th. At 6 p.m. Eastern time. So we'll see what happens, man. But as far as there's a lot of rumblings going on in the NBA, Jimmy Butler to the Rockets is the latest hot rumor going on right now. They say the Rockets are in hot pursuit of Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler is from Tomball, so he's basically from the greater Houston area, a local kid. And it's going to be interesting to see what he ends up at. You know, for him to go to the Rockets, it would have to be a sign and trade with the Philadelphia 76ers. And the Rockets, in all probability, would have to give up a player like Eric Gordon and multiple first-round draft picks. You know, they pursued Jimmy Butler when he was in Minnesota last season, and they were willing to give up 4 first-round picks. So it's going to take that sort of package to bring Jimmy Butler to the Rockets in a sign and trade deal. Now, Philadelphia, they're going to try to convince Jimmy to re-sign there. Him and Joel Embiid got along very well, and they had very good chemistry. He gave Philadelphia the toughness that they needed. You notice he came to Joel Embiid's defense when Joel Embiid got into it with one of the Brooklyn Nets players in the first round of the Eastern Conference playoffs. He came, I think the guy's name was... what's a guy named the light-skinned guy out of Boston College? I can't remember his name, but he's a three-point shooter, veteran player. He had gotten to it. He had said some things about Ben Simmons in the series. Said Ben Simmons needed to basically improve his game and work on his jump shot. And Ben Simmons ended up coming back and having a very good game. I think game 3 right after that. So I forgot the guy's name, man. He played with the Phoenix Suns, and now he was with Brooklyn. But anyway, Jimmy Butler came to Joel Embiid's defense and pushed the guy in the back when him and Joel Embiid got to it. So, and they asked Jimmy Butler at the press conference, you know, about the situation, and Jimmy Butler basically said, "Hey, man, I'm looking out for the big man. I'm here to support him, and I got his back." That's basically why I came and jumped into the fray. So those guys got a nice little bond there, and I think Philadelphia will be relying on that bond with their arguably their best player to lure Jimmy Butler back. But if Jimmy Butler tells Philadelphia that he wants to go to the Rockets, it will be in Philadelphia 76ers' best interest to trade him to Houston and get something back for him, or else risk losing him by risk losing him and going to another team and you're not getting anything back for him. So I think it'll be in Philadelphia's best interest if Jimmy Butler goes to him and say, "Hey, I want to go to the Rockets. You know, you can trade me there, and I can get my max contract, and you can get some compensation for me instead of me going somewhere else and signing a 4-year deal and you get nothing for me." So I think that'll be something that'll be in best interest for both parties, Philadelphia and Jimmy Butler. But the Rockets are in hot pursuit. If they can get Jimmy Butler, I think they will be the favorite in the West with a 3-headed monster of James Harden, Chris Paul, and Jimmy Butler. I think a lot of this Chris Paul, James Harden turmoil has been exaggerated. You know, all great players have had disagreements. And, you know, for their season to end like they didn't want it to end in Game 6 of Golden State, you know, you had a chance to beat them without Kevin Durant, and you end up letting them come into your own home court and beating you and ending your season for the 2nd year in a row. You know, it was a lot of frustration and disappointment, and I think that was the main part of it. Those guys are very, especially Chris Paul. You know, you put PJ Tucker in that category too. Those 3 guys, they'll go at each other a lot on the court. If you go to any of the Rockets games, those 3 guys are always going at it all the time. You know, and they end up getting over it and going on to the next game or to the next play. So I don't think it's nothing that's going to be lingering. Only difference was in Game 6 was when they got into it. You know, it wasn't another game to come back from. The season was over, so the stuff kind of got lingered. They didn't get a chance to disagree, hash it out, and move on. And that's the only difference than other times during the season when those guys have gone at it. Chris Paul, James Harden, Chris Paul, PJ Tucker, James Harden. So I think it was a lot of situation where it was a lot of overblown by the media saying those guys were couldn't get along and one of the guys needed to go, and Chris Paul demanding to be traded. He came out, I think it was yesterday, said that was not the case. He has a demand to be traded, and he's going to be with the Rockets next year. So we'll see what happens, man. But Jimmy Butler will be a key piece. Now, one of the things I think will have to change, the offense was pretty much ran through James Harden the majority of the time. I think if you got Jimmy Butler, James Harden, and Chris Paul, I think Chris Paul is going to have to handle the ball way more than he handled last year. I think he's going to have to handle the ball more because I think he's more of a facilitator, and he'll know how to get Jimmy Butler going and James Harden going. He'll know how to get those guys going, get those guys the ball in the right spots, the right times on the court, in the right areas, and get those guys going where they can be scorers. I think he's more of a pure point guard, knowing how to work with guys on the wing and get those guys going. If you got the ball going, and like it was last year, if Jimmy Butler's on the team, if you got the ball in James Harden's hand and he's dominating the ball, I think Jimmy Butler and Chris Paul game is going to suffer. It's one of those guys' games going to suffer. The second option always going to be able to put up his points, but that third option is going to see a real decrease in field goal attempts, and I think it's going to hurt him, especially if you don't have a pure point guard. But if you have a pure point guard, like Magic was able to get Kareem going, was able to get James Worthy going, those guys' offense didn't suffer. I think you're going to need that pure point guard and Chris Paul to run the point and get the ball to scores like James Harden and Jimmy Butler on the wing. So I think that'll have to be the change if you bring in Jimmy Butler. The ball can't be ball dominant by James Harden scoring and then have Jimmy Butler just being a spot up 3-point shooter. That's not his game. His game is as a scorer, can score inside, can get to the basket, can post up a little bit and shoot over smaller defenders. And just a big physical, strong guy that can attack the basket and can shoot a 3-point shot that's decent and a good mid-range shooter. And you got James Harden that can shoot the three, can get to the basket, got the step back three, can get to the hole, and he can dish off and get assists too. But I think you need Chris Paul, a guy that doesn't need that many attempts. He can have more of an impact as being a facilitator and running the offense and getting James and Jimmy Butler going. So I think that'll have to be the offense. I think the offense has to go more through Chris Paul being a pure point guard if they bring Jimmy Butler into the Houston Rockets roster next season. So we'll see what happens. Another thing I'm hearing, man, is Kevin Durant, man. I'm hearing that he's having issues with why did the Golden State Warriors medical staff and front office approve him coming out and playing against Toronto in the NBA Finals Game 5. I think he's saying that they shouldn't have who okayed him knowing that he was not 100% healthy. Who okayed that he's having a lot of issues with basically the Golden State Warriors organization okaying him to play in Game 5. And I think even Steph Curry came out today or yesterday and said that there's no way KD should have came and played in Game 5. You jeopardized this guy career. You jeopardize, especially you jeopardize a season next year that he's not gonna ever be able to get back. He could get his money, but he's never gonna be able to get. If he misses next season, he can't get that back. No amount of money is gonna get a lost year back. That's a lost year in his prime back. So I think Steph Curry came out and made some critical statements against the Golden State Warriors organization too. So to me, I think with Kyrie Irving, looking like he's heading to the Brooklyn Nets, don't be surprised if you have a Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant going to the Brooklyn Nets next year. Kevin Durant next year will be like a red shirt year, and he'll be trying to rehab and get his Achilles 100%, and then he'll be back next year into 2020-2021 season. So I think that's what you're looking at right now, man. I think you're looking at Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant combining to go to the Brooklyn Nets. That's my opinion of what I think is going to happen. I think Kawhi Leonard is going to stay in Toronto and stay with the Raptors. He's in a great situation, great organization. Got a nice young player that's improving in Pascal Siakam. Got a top 10 point guard in Kyle Lowry. Great bench. You got some great role players. Fred VanVleet, Danny Green, Ibaka coming off the bench. If they can re-sign Marc Gasol, bring him in. You got a top 5 center in Marc Gasol. Just got a real good, solid team and solid organization. I think if he goes to the Clippers have some good pieces, but they don't have that second star or that third young star that's proven like a Pascal Siakam. They don't have that second star like a Kyle Lowry either. So I think he could go there, and they definitely would be one of the contenders in the West if he go to the Clippers. But they'll have other teams to deal with, like the Rockets, the Lakers, the Nuggets, the Portland Trail Blazers, the Utah Jazz. Just much deeper in the West, man. You got a lot of strong powerhouse teams. And thinking about it, in the playoffs in the West, you got to be on your A game from round 1 through the Western Conference Final. You don't have to kind of slow foot your way or kind of ease your way into the playoffs like you could do in the East. As you notice in the Eastern Conference first round, Orlando beat Toronto in game 1, and Brooklyn beat Philadelphia in game 1. But after that, those teams never won another game, as Philadelphia won 4 in a row, and Toronto won 4 in a row. So you kind of ease your way in the East, because that first round you got teams like Brooklyn. They just happen to be there. They're teams that probably wouldn't even be in the playoffs in the West. But Orlando, their young team, happy to be there. Ain't been there in a long time, probably since Dwight Howard was there. They was happy to be there. And they got a nice little team, but they're not any kind of contenders. So you kind of ease your way to a certain degree in the playoffs in the East. But in the Western Conference, you can't be coming in there, easing your way in. You'll be easing your way at home at the playoffs. That'll be that's what ended up happening. So the Western Conference is just much deeper, much tougher competition. As you had look at the second round, you had Golden State and the Rockets in the second round of the playoffs. That was basically 2 of the top 3 teams in the NBA, along with Toronto, meeting up in the second round. So that's just how deep the West is. So Kawhi Leonard needs to consider all that when he want to make his decision between, I believe, 2 teams, Toronto and the Los Angeles Clippers. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, man. But again, Kyrie Irving and Durant, I believe, will end up with the Brooklyn Nets. I think Kawhi Leonard will stay in Toronto, and I think the Rockets have a good chance of getting Jimmy Butler. But the key is Jimmy Butler is going to have to agree to a sign and trade. Philadelphia would have to, bow their neck and accept that and be willing to at least get something for Jimmy Butler. And that'll be Eric Gordon and multiple first-round picks by the Rockets. But we'll see what happens, man. Just a little bit of news. We'll see what happens, man. The free agent frenzy will start June the 30th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Central. And we'll see what transpires after that. I'm about to get up out of here, man. Relax and watch a little TV, man. Just giving you guys the update on the NBA free agency. But you guys take it easy. Stay blessed. This is JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. I holla.